Starting out here with the resource packs, we have the fancy GUI overhaul. This one adds some super awesome vanilla looking UIs to all these tables that you can open. They look super duper cool and really enhance the vanilla experience in my opinion, while again looking super vanilla and like they really do fit into the game. And the next one is this fresh player animations, which does this, adds a super cool player animations, just really makes it fun while you're playing the game. Next one is better item frames and better frame tools. Better item frames make the frames small so that they're not invisible, but they're still not super distracting, and then better framed tools makes the tools really big when you place them in item frames, but that way they don't look super miniature and wacky and kind of silly when you place them in item frames. Next is fresh animations, which adds animations to the mobs of the game. So I really like villagers, how they move their eyes and their nose and stuff. I also really like zombies, the way they're leaned out like that. And also evokers and vindicators. Yeah, all just super duper cool animations and stuff. Again, it looks very vanilla, but just adds to the experience. Next up with texture packs, we have the Exumavoid Vanilla Tweaks plus my Gameon 2000 Vanilla Tweaks. Now with Exumavoid's Vanilla Tweaks pack, you can pick and choose whatever features you want and then download it. So I have varied textures on things like cobblestone, bricks, and bookshelves. All have varied textures from block to block. Then over here we have the waxed copper blocks. While you're holding any waxed copper blocks, they will have an outline of yellow to indicate that they're waxed, but then when you place them down, then it no longer looks like it's waxed, which is really useful for when you're in your inventory and you're getting the waxed versus unwaxed stuff confused. Just a super useful thing. Also, tools have all been changed by my Vanilla Tweaks resource pack. I tweaked them up and changed them a little bit, basically just to make the handles longer on a lot of them, or to make them ever so slightly different shapes or have longer blades or whatnot, just to make them look like a little bit more like actual tools and rather than stubby little tools in your hand when you're holding them. And then of course my resource pack also changes the armor textures of iron, gold, and diamond to make them just look a little bit cooler and less silly and bubbly. Like the default ones are a little bit bubbly for my taste, so I like to tweak them up just a teeny bit to make them look nice and cool. And then last but not least, we have the tweaked diorite, just so it's easier to build with and doesn't look as much like bird crap. And then you have the creepers, which are tweaked so that they look like they're not bombarded with bird crap with all that white and gray spots all over them. And now with the mods that I have on. First we have continuity, which adds blocks that can connect in textures like so, including those bookshelves over there that you saw earlier. Then we have crawl. Now crawl makes it so that instead of just having to flip a trapdoor on yourself to be able to crawl, I can now go ahead and just press X and I'll immediately start crawling, which looks a little bit silly with the player animation pack on, because apparently they don't animate the crawl. Next is cycle paintings, which basically makes it so that when you place down a painting, instead of having to destroy it and then try and place it down again until you get the one that you want, you can simply place a painting and right-click it to cycle through paintings. Only it's not working right now for some reason, which might be the consequence of having like a million mods all at the same time. But let's move on. Next we have easy anvils, which is super simple. All it does is basically make it so that when you put tools and books inside of an anvil, and then you exit out without removing them, that they stay inside the anvil, and they also have a little display on the outside. Just a super small, simple tweak. Better fabric grass. Now I don't have Optifine anymore because there's some problems with Optifine, but now I have other mods that do all the things that Optifine used to do. Glowing torch flowers. Super simple, makes torch flowers actually glow. Next is Iris, and Iris allows me to have shaders. So right now I have the complementary shaders on, or complementary unbound, and I use this on my modded survival world as well. It makes ores glow, which is super duper cool, and torches and ores will both reflect on my armor. If you look closely, you can see the ores reflecting off my armor. There we go, just like that. It makes my armor look super duper shiny. Next is logical zoom plus spyglass improvements. This basically just adds the zoom effect that you've seen me use here and there, just to be able to zoom by pressing C. So that way you do not need a spyglass with you all the time, but in order to not make spyglasses useless, they still see way further than just the regular zoom does. Next is right-click harvest, which basically makes it so that when you're holding a hoe, you can just right-click on a crop, and it'll immediately break a bunch of them nearby, not just the one. It'll break a bunch of its neighbors, and also automatically replant them, which makes gardening a lot faster. Next, I have useful backpacks, aka useless backpacks, because I installed the mod and it's not working, it's not doing anything, but it's supposed to add like backpacks so you can carry stuff around, kind of like a bundle. The next mod is item placer, which basically makes it so instead of using item frames all the time, you can simply press P and just place an item on the wall, and then you can actually rotate it, except actually you can't, because for some reason it's kind of broken for me and it won't let me actually rotate the items. But in theory, it's a really cool mod. Next is easy shulkers, which basically improves everything about shulkers. So if I have this shulker right here, I go ahead and open it up and place all these items inside. Then, as you know, I can go ahead and pick up that shulker and be able to take it anywhere, just like that's how shulkers work. But with this mod, you can actually open the shulker in your inventory and be able to take things out, just like that. So if I need something from my shulker, I don't have to place it down, grab something, and then break the shulker box to pick it back up. I can simply scroll through like this and just grab whatever I need out of the shulker. And then if I want to put anything in my inventory back into the shulker, I can simply drag it along like this, grabbing everything in its path and putting everything in the shulker super easily. Next, we have Dungeons and Taverns. Now, Dungeons and Taverns is technically a data pack, but what it does is it adds tons and tons of new structures to the game instead of the same old structures that we've known forever, jungle temples, desert temples, and whatnot. We have a few structures in Minecraft, but like honestly, not a lot, and sometimes they're a bit repetitive and boring, and this data pack just adds so much variety with so many structures, some super duper small and basic, like a well in the middle of nowhere, and some are giant taverns and things that you can explore. This is one random example I found in this world. Next is customizable elytra, and then there's also elytra slot. In customizable elytra, you are actually able to dye elytras just like this, and as you could see there, you can also split the elytras in half and then craft them back together. That way you can have something like this where it's a two-colored elytra, but what I like to do, I really like making them like a darker color, and then you can also add trims to the elytra, which is just super awesome to be able to customize them and not have them always just be that boring gray look. But even better than a customizable elytra is being able to wear an elytra with your armor, which I really think should be in game. And I know Mojang has the arguments of, oh, that's too overpowered or something. Like, okay, then at least like maybe make it more difficult to get an elytra, or maybe when you're wearing elytra and armor at the same time, you don't get the armor effects, but at least just let me look like I'm wearing armor, because this just looks really silly. But anyway, that's a rant for another day. Next is ambient sounds plus presence footsteps, and I'll go ahead and show you a little bit more outside of this creative world, but I'm gonna show you the footsteps real quick just so you can listen to what the footsteps sound like on all these different blocks. Obviously, there are varied footsteps sound effects in vanilla Minecraft, but this just adds a few more, just makes them sound a little bit more realistic and just, you know, pulls you into the game just a little bit more. Now, what this does is basically adds like ambient sounds to the game. So if you go ahead and give a little bit of a listen, you can hear like some bugs and some birds in the background, just adding some ambience to the world, making it feel so much more lively. If I come down here into a cave, if you listen closely in this cave, you'll hear that there's a bit of an echo while I'm walking. And if I come down here into this even bigger cave, there's an even bigger echo from me and all the mobs, just making it feel very much cavely.